Welcome, everyone. This is, I'll get my machine working here. This is the Silicon Valley Clean Energy Authority Board of Directors meeting for Wednesday, April 13th, 2022. This meeting will be conducted in accordance with the California Government Code, Section 45953E, in consideration of the coronavirus. All members of Silicon Valley Clean Energy Board of Directors and staff will participate in this meeting by teleconference. The public may observe this meeting electronically by accessing the meeting via instructions. The public comment can be set in advance of a meeting or you can raise your hands. The members of the public using Zoom may comment during the public comment or the applicable agenda item by using the raised hand feature, and you will be recognized by the chair. For those using the telephone, which is audio only feature, should press *9 on your phones to initiate the raised hand function in Zoom. You will then be announced unmuted and your time to speak will begin. Let's see, okay. With that, may we have a call to order and a roll call?
Yes, thank you. Chair Gibbons.
Here.
Vice Chair Tyson.
Here.
Director Willie.
Here.
Meadows.
Present.
Chua.
Here.
Elahi.
Here.
Martinez Beltran.
Here.
Abe Koga.
Here.
Walia.
Here.
Klein.
Here.
Thank you. And I will note that currently we have directors Rennie and Armendariz. Armendariz, you're present.
Yes.
Thanks so much. I will note that Director Rennie and Lee are absent, but we do have a quorum.
Thank you for that. And welcome, everyone. At this time, we will offer an opportunity for the public to speak on a matter that is not on the agenda. Do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on an item not on the agenda? I see no raised hands. Okay. Is there anyone on the board who has an item that they wanted to raise at this time? Okay. Seeing none, we will move on to our first action item of the evening, which is the consent calendar. We have items 1A through 1M. Is there any comments, questions, anyone wishing to pull an item for discussion? If there are none, we will ask for public comment. I see no items being pulled and I will check. I see no items from the public, hands raised by the public requesting to speak on the consent calendar. If there's no discussion, I'll accept a motion.
So move.
Who said that?
Martinez Beltran.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Beltran. And
Second
seconded.
from Klein.
Fine, thank you. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, thank you. Chair Gibbons.
Aye.
Vice Chair Tyson.
Yes.
Director Willie.
Hi.
Armendariz.
Yes.
Meadows.
Yes.
Chua.
Aye.
Elahi.
Hi.
Martinez Beltran.
Aye.
Abe Koga.
Aye.
Walia.
Aye.
Klein.
Hi.
Thank you. And I will note that that carries with Directors Lee and Rennie absent.
Thank you. We'll now move on to the regular calendar this evening. We have 3 items and we will be followed by a closed session. The first regular calendar item is number 2, the CEO report, and Director Belanchandra.
Thank you, Chair Gibbons. I have 4 items I'd like to update you on today. We're going to start with Pamela Leonard, Communications and Marketing Manager, who will be updating you on some Earth Day communications and anniversary communications, I should say.
Hello, good evening, directors. Pamela Leonard, Communications Manager. I wanted to kick off our evening to celebrate the 5 years that our communities have achieved clean electricity for customers It was in April 2017 that we flipped the switch, so to speak, to carbon-free electricity. Many of you were there, and we have a video that we want to show. And so we can go ahead and just start things off with a nice video to celebrate this milestone for our agency.
Our goal at Silicon Valley Clean Energy Authority is to decarbonize. We started off with a goal of 100% carbon-free electricity. So I'm really excited about how we've gone beyond our original vision to be even better.
It's been important for SVCE to continually earn the public's trust year after year, both in achieving what we say we're going to achieve and doing what we say we're going to do. Every month when they pay their bill, we want them to feel good about being part of something bigger than just their power company.
SVCE has helped local communities reduce their carbon emissions by providing carbon-free energy, and so our long-term carbon emission reduction goals are now really realistic and attainable.
I'm really proud that we're leading the charge on building these projects. The key part is actually the storage that's going to go with the solar. We can store the energy of the sun during the day and then pull it back out of the battery in the evening when people are coming home. And so they're still effectively using the energy from the sun, even though the sun has gone down.
One of the main issues involved in the development of new energy supply is when the power is available to the communities. Long duration storage is essential to meeting the 24/7 needs of our customers.
From day one, we've met our goal of carbon-free electricity for a bit less than PG&E, and we're now moving on to innovative programs to reduce our carbon footprint further in our built environment and in transportation.
Silicon Valley Clean Energy is a leader in innovation. We have to be a leader in the world of energy supply. We have to be a leader in the world of community education and taking responsibility on how we are going to decarbonize the environment.
The work that SVCE is doing is truly going to leave a better world for our kids. We're truly making an impact in our communities, that we are investing in programs that will have long-lasting effects.
These sorts of opportunities are amazing experiences for the kids. Lets them experiment. It lets them do engineering work, lets them experience critical thinking. It requires teamwork. And in the end, you get to know how good your team worked because, hey, you're competing with 16 other teams.
The last 5 years of SVCE have just been quite a whirlwind, I'd say. A lot of times people say government works slowly, but SVCE, which is a group of governments working together, has really proven that wrong, and we've made so much progress in the last 5 years, and we're really making a difference, I feel, in our community and for our future.
Wow, Pamela, team, everyone, thank you so much. Well done.
That's our love letter to all of our communities for everything you've done to get us to this point. And our celebrations will continue on April 23rd at the Cupertino Earth and Arbor Day Festival, which is located at the Cupertino Library Field. So large outdoor event. We are sponsoring a solar powered stage for the festivities, and we're going to have induction cooking demonstrations by regional, sort of well-known in the kitchen electrification space, a woman named Rochelle Boucher. And those cooking demos are going to take place at 11:45 a.m. and 1:35 p.m. And then there will be some remarks following the Cupertino mayor at 1:25 p.m. where we'll have Director Willie and Chair Gibbons speaking. And afterwards, we know many of you, it's the great return of Earth Month in 2022. We're excited to be back in the community, but there's many events. So we'll also be in Milpitas at a ribbon cutting for their new solar and storage resilience projects at the community center. And we'll also be in Mountain View. So for our staff, we're going to be in multiple places, and we're going to have this mixer that you've all been invited to in the afternoon. We've also extended an invitation to all of your council colleagues, as well as former board members, state elected officials, city managers, and key staff that we work with at all of your agencies to join us. So if you have any questions about any of these events, please feel free to reach out to Andrea or myself, and we can make sure you're signed up to attend. So thank you.
Thank you, Pamela. Next, I'd like to introduce our newest employee, Nupur Hermat. She joined the SVCE team from the city of Sunnyvale, where she previously worked. She joined us this Monday, and she will be our manager of decarbonization and grid innovation programs. So she is going to help in the deployment of programs in support of the Double Down and other planned initiatives that the board has approved. So I'm going to turn it over to Nupur so she can introduce herself to the board. Nupur.
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and Directors. Just wanted to say hello. Really excited to be here as a part of the SVCE team, supporting decarbonization programs for not just one, but multiple communities. So looking forward to working with you all in this capacity. Thanks.
Welcome, Nupur.
Okay, thank you. I'll just give you a little bit of background about her. She served for 7 years as an environmental programs manager at the city of Sunnyvale, leading the development and implementation of the city's climate action plan with a focus on energy efficiency and electrification programs. She also worked at an environmental consulting firm for 9 years on federal policy and development, on policy development, research on climate change impacts on urban areas. She holds a BS in biochemistry from Davidson College and a Master of Public Administration degree from Columbia University. Andrea, would you post up the slides? I'm going to talk in the last couple of months, I have told the board that I'm going to be doing some realignment within SVCE. So I have a couple of slides that talk about it. Essentially, since we started, about a year after we started, once I came on board, we created this new group called Decarbonization and Grid Innovation. And our program's work has been split between these two groups, the ASCO group, which is Account Services and Community Relations, and the DGI group. The two groups have worked very effectively together, but now there are a couple of changes. One is the board has increased the program's budget by about 2 times, and Don Bray is going to be transitioning to a new role. So we're going to continue to keep a customer relations and account services group, but all the program functions will be moved under one group, the DGI group, and under Justin. We have just started the process of hiring for Don's position, and Don has very graciously agreed to stay on through May in his current role before he transitions to his new role. On the right-hand side of this chart, the vast majority of regulatory work is basically done for power supply, and there's a lot of subject matter expertise in power supply that's related for regulatory work. So we also had our director of regulatory affairs and our senior regulatory analyst left last month in February. So we're taking the opportunity at this point to meld these two groups together. The legislative function will stay as is, reporting to me. So if you can go to the next slide, the second slide. So the transition date was this Monday, and basically on top, the next steps, we're going to finalize department names, job titles. There's going to be reclassification for several staff. We're going to fill vacant positions. So Amrit and Kevin are working on that. And then further needs on staffing, we will evaluate and update you during the annual budgeting process. So that's my update on reorg. Are there any questions on either the reorg or Pamela's presentation? Don't see any. The last item I'd like to update the board on is legislative issues. And for that, we have our Manager of Legislative Affairs, Benna Chang.
Thank you so much. Good evening. I'm Benna Chang, Senior Government Affairs Manager. Wanted to just give the board a couple of quick legislative updates since we're in the heat of the legislative session. First off, I'm excited to report that I was able to, and very honored to attend on March 15th, the first in-person CalCCA Legislative Lobby Day. That's the first one they've had since the pandemic. It was really great to see everybody in person. We met with a really great slate of state leaders, including Budget Chair Assemblymember Ting, the new Energy Committee Chair Assemblymember Garcia, Senator Laird, Kip Lipper, who is the Chief Policy Advisor for Pro Tem Atkins, and many environmental stakeholder partners. I wanted to share with the board just a couple of themes that we heard during the CalCCA Lobby Day. One of the big themes that several speakers talked about was really the budget surplus that the state has and their desire to find more investments, especially in infrastructure, was one thing that several speakers brought up. A lot of the challenges that we are looking at here are really things that the legislature is also focused on. A few key items they brought up included transmission interconnection delays, workforce training issues, and then a lot of focus on the affordability of utilities and high utility costs. And then finally, on the Senate side in particular, there was a lot of expression about how the Senate would like to focus on how to achieve the existing state targets that the governor and legislature have set forth versus looking for new targets. So with that, next slide, please. Wanted to transition and talk about two very high priority bills and let the board know about the status of them. The first one is SB 881 by Senator Min. This is an integrated resource plan bill about enforcement. So SVCE recently joined CalCCA in taking an opposed unless amended position on this bill, in line with the CalCCA position. The bill would really codify the CPUC's authority to enforce greenhouse gas emissions reductions through the Integrated Resource Plan. The language in the bill is very broad right now and gives the CPUC authority to order procurement or assess penalties to ensure that load-serving entities are achieving a diverse, balanced, and reliable portfolio. From our perspective, the Integrated Resource Plan is really meant to be a planning document. We are concerned because we need the ability to respond to new technologies and to market conditions as they arise. And so CalCCA has been working very hard with the author on potential amendments. The goal from CalCCA's perspective is really to have the CPUC clarify the targets and then allow load-serving entities the flexibility to figure out how to meet those targets. So wanted to let the board know about that position. Next slide, please. The other major bill that we've been working on is SB 1158 by Senator Becker. This is the clean energy reporting bill that he has this session. So the bill requires basically an hourly reporting for electricity emissions. Currently, reporting is done through the Power Source Disclosure Program on the power content label, and that's done on an annual basis. So this is quite a significant shift to go from annual reporting to hourly reporting. The bill currently also has some enforcement language, and it requires the CPUC to assess if load-serving entities are demonstrating adequate progress towards meeting greenhouse gas emission targets. So at a high level, Silicon Valley Clean Energy is really moving towards a 24/7 clean energy direction. We've invested significantly, as you know, in technologies like geothermal and energy storage to more closely align procurement with our load. However, we feel like the transition from annual reporting to hourly reporting is complex, and there are a lot of technical challenges that CalCCA has brought up. For example, some products like renewable energy credits are not tracked currently on an hourly basis. So CalCCA is highlighting these challenges, and really they have adopted an opposed unless amended position on this bill to ask for this bill to be amended for the CPUC or the CEC to further study some of the implementation issues, the feasibility, the affordability, and any unintended consequences of transitioning from an hourly or from an annual to an hourly reporting structure. So with that, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Benna. Do we have any questions? I don't see any at this time.
Chair Gibbons, that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Benna. Appreciate the help and the help you gave me last week as well. Thank you. That's a discussion item, so no action is required. We'll move on to item number 3, approve plan to conduct the May 2022 Board of Directors meetings as a hybrid meeting. This is an action item, and we'll have a presentation from Kevin Armstrong.
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and Directors. Yes, we would like to discuss our organization's plans for returning to in-person meetings in the very near future. Next slide, please. As you all know, we're operating under new rules that were put in place recently in late 2021 in regards to our ability to conduct meetings remotely. And those rules remain in place under AB 361, but they do require that the state continue to operate under a state of emergency. So we would like to be prepared for the potential possibility that that state of emergency is lifted and that there is a requirement to return to previous Brown Act noticing requirements, including the noticing of remote locations in advance and making those locations open and accessible to the public. We understand that there's new legislation that's making its way through the legislature that may codify some of those existing relaxed requirements with regards to noticing. But it's possible those may not take effect until January 1, 2023. It's also possible they may take effect earlier as part of an urgency measure, but until that's clear, we'd like to prepare for the possibility that there's a gap in there and that we need to transition back to previous noticing requirements. Next slide, please. If that were to happen and we experienced this gap in time where we do need to return to those noticing requirements, we're recommending that board members attempt, if at all possible, to use existing publicly accessible locations, which would allow for noticing and public participation and remove any of the sort of obstacles or questions around noticing a private location. We would intend to work with member agencies to cover any fees or staff time needed to keep facilities open in the evenings, which would primarily be for these board meetings, committee meetings normally happening during the day, of course. And then, in the case that we're not operating in a hybrid environment, continuing to provide the ability to attend meetings from our SVCE office, as several of you have done in the past and are doing tonight. So we'd like to keep that option open as well. Next slide, please. With that, we have begun preparations with the City of Cupertino, who has been our longstanding host for our in-person board meetings. They are resuming hybrid meetings with in-person attendance starting this month. So their first meeting will be on April 19th. And then later that week, we'll be meeting with them in the Cupertino Community Hall chambers to test a dry run of the hybrid meeting setup with the Zoom Room software that they have in place, their existing audiovisual staff, and ideally some SVCE staff and potentially board members participating remotely in order to see how that all works out from a logistics standpoint. In May, we are proposing and recommending that we schedule, well, it is scheduled, but that we conduct our May board meeting as a hybrid board meeting from Cupertino. And then in June and July, we've begun the process of outfitting our conference rooms here at the Sunnyvale office with Zoom Room technology to be able to conduct meetings, committee meetings specifically, from our offices in a hybrid format moving forward. So we'll keep you apprised of that progress as that rolls out. There being some, up in the airness with regards to supply chains and audiovisual equipment, but our current goal is June, July latest. So we expect to have that in place. So with all that, next slide. As I mentioned, we are recommending that the board conduct its next meeting in May from the Cupertino Community Hall as a hybrid meeting with the option to participate in person or remotely. What we will do between now and then is send out a survey to all board members to begin to understand a little bit better your preferences going forward. But we view this as a first option for us to experience hybrid meetings among this organization and board. I know many of your member agencies have been doing this for months already, but it's a chance for our staff to work with Cupertino and then with all of you to conduct a meeting in this manner. And we've visited already, in the past for in-person board meetings. We've been able to host all 13 or 14 board participants up at the dais. We know that might be a lot to undertake early on. So, part of doing this is to get a feel for how the space works in person, see what spacing, see what participation looks like, work with the Cupertino staff to come up with a schedule for handling public comments, to understand the handoffs between the in-person staff and remote staff, and really just to get one of these under our belt. So that's my presentation. And with that, I open it up to you for discussion.
Thank you, Kevin, our Administrative Services Manager, who is helping us be prepared. So the discussion is very timely, and I appreciate very much having the thought process behind what staff is preparing and providing for us. So with that, do we have any questions of Kevin's presentation? And I see Director Elahi's hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to check, are you doing the same for committee meetings, executive committee and the budget committee? What are you planning?
So at the current time, we'll continue to conduct those remotely until we have the offices built out. Should it happen that noticing requirements return from the previous Brown Act list before the conference rooms are ready, we would reach out to Cupertino to attempt to conduct hybrid board meetings or hybrid committee meetings there as well.
Thank you.
I see no other hands raised by the board members. I'm looking at the attendees. I see no hands raised by the attendees. And we will then come back to the board So this is discussion and an action item. And Kevin, you want to just clarify that the action item is to begin the board meeting in a hybrid format in May. Is that correct?
That is correct. The recommendation at this time is simply to conduct the May meeting as a hybrid meeting, both from Cupertino and remotely. And then we could, the board could provide direction on subsequent meetings after that.
Okay. Yes, Director Elahi.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. I think you mentioned we could appear remotely from some public location. So we could appear, for example, from the City Hall in Montessorino.
Yes, Director Ali. Our recommendation, should the previous Brown Act noticing requirements return, is that because of the requirements both for the advanced noticing of the address and the ability to provide full public participation, that the use of existing public facilities, in our opinion, makes a lot of sense, and we'd like to work with your member agencies to make that possible.
All right. That means you'll help them set it up if necessary. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I see no other. Oh, yes, Director Walia.
Thank you, Chair Gibbons. So, Kevin, did I read it correctly, the report, that for now, if somebody is going to be attending remote, we don't have to go to a public place, right?
That is correct. We still remain under the relaxed rules of AB 361, so long as that state of emergency remains in place. That's correct.
Okay. So is there a space limitation? I've never been in that Cupertino room where the Clean Energy Board meets. So what kind of space are we looking at? How many people from the board and staff, the way they are placed, would be comfortable to have together there in person?
Prior to COVID, well, having never sat at the dais myself, I can't speak to the comfort, but it certainly fits all members of the board in individual seating locations around the arc. But I will certainly defer to the directors for their impressions of its comfort.
Can I just add something here? And I would invite Director Willie to speak to it, because he was at a dry run just today or yesterday on that. But we did have 13 in the past at the dais.
And I'll just add, staff sits on tables at the floor, and there is a large auditorium area for the public. And Director Wiley.
Yeah. So yeah, correct. We did have our dry run today for next Tuesday's council meeting, and I did very clearly look at the dais, and yes, we can fit the 13 directors up there. That's good. Community Hall is really I would say a fairly good size auditorium. Audience participation, I would say that it can easily hold about 100, 10 by 10 in a spread out seating arrangement, and double that, I think, in the pre-COVID close together type. So for the size of our meetings and the number of attendees that we have, there should be plenty of room for safe distancing and things of that. And it will, at least for the city council meetings, it will maintain the Zoom remote access. So when people do want to ask questions or provide comments and they're at home, they will be able to do that, and we will be able to see them just like we're seeing here. We'll be able to see them on the monitors at Community Hall. So I'm real hopeful. There may be a few bumps in the road for the first one or two, but I think we're going to find it's going to be quite nice. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
And thanks the City of Cupertino for working so well with staff to sort through all the logistics. And Director Walia, do you have any other questions?
Yes, please. Thank you for that. So the other question is, with the hybrid that is being recommended, is there a need for a quorum in person, or what kind of rules are we looking at?
Not at this time. So at this time, this would just be a test run. So it's an open invitation to members of the board to attend in person if desired or remotely if desired. And then once that state of emergency is lifted, then we return to the previous Brown Act rules about quorum attendance.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, we will open, let's see. Did I do the public hearing on this one? I don't think I did I? I did, okay. And so we came back to comments and questions from the board. Thank you. And with that, we will take a motion to accept the staff recommendation.
Motion to accept the staff recommendation.
Second, Martinez Beltran.
Thank you. From motion by Director Abicoga and seconded by Director Martinez Beltran. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, thank you. Chair Gibbons.
Aye.
Vice Chair Tyson.
Yes.
Director Willie.
Aye.
Armendariz.
Yes.
Meadows.
Yes.
Chua.
Aye.
Elahi.
Aye.
Martinez Beltran.
Aye.
Abicoga.
Aye.
Walia.
Nay.
Klein.
Aye.
Thank you. And I will note that Directors Lee and Rennie are currently absent, but that motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you for that discussion and presentation. We'll now move on to agenda item number 4. This is a presentation on the Clean Energy Procurement Informational Update, and it's from our staff member, Power Contracts and Settlement Manager, Zach Liskey. Do I say your last name correctly, Zach?
Yeah, yes, you did, Chair Gibbons. Thank you.
Okay.
And good evening, everyone. All right. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is a look at timeline of our PPAs that we have coming online, that are signed PPAs, and where they're kind of stacking up, starting with our most recently completed first quarter of this year through the fourth quarter of next year. And so at the very top there, we have Slate and Big Bow Solar Plus Storage and Coastal Geothermal. And then in the second quarter of this year, we have Casa Diablo Geothermal, third quarter Rabbit Brush Solar Plus Storage, fourth quarter Yellow Pine Solar Plus Storage, and Atlas Solar, and then several more in 2023 and beyond. Next slide, please. So we have 2 projects fully online at this point. They're coming online, but we are seeing interconnection and other challenges that are creating issues getting to full COD. So of the 2 we have online, COSO's geothermal project started delivery on January 1st. It was from an existing facility. And then our recurrent Slate Solar Plus Storage plant achieved COD in January of this year. And then in our pre-COD, we have Big Bow Solar Plus Storage. The caveat here being that Big Bow has essentially achieved a partial COD. The solar is fully online and operating, but the battery system is delayed. We have Ormat Casa Diablo Geothermal expected the second quarter, and we're expecting that in June. AES Mountain View Wind. This is actually scheduled for January 1st of 2023, but very good news that this is looking to be moved up 6 months early. So we're going to be seeing deliveries potentially starting in July, which is a good sign in this challenged environment for developers. Next, we have Leeward's Rabbit Rush Solar Plus Storage, which is expected in the third quarter of this year, started construction in November of last year. And then next there is Yellow Pine Solar Plus Storage, started construction in the first quarter of this year and is expected at the end of this year to be complete. And we have several others in the pre-construction phase and that are facing various challenges, many of which stemming from COVID-19 and then related supply chain delivery issues. It can be difficult procuring different components for these projects. Next slide, please. So this is the RE Slate project. It's a solar plus storage hybrid resource, 93 megawatts of solar and 46.5 megawatt battery that achieved COD in January. You see here photos from March ribbon cutting event. We were happy to have some of our directors attend. And so Slate is currently operating in the California Independent System Operator wholesale real-time, day-ahead and real-time markets, 24/7 basis. And we're operating these resources in partnership with 3CE, with our coordinated operations partner, and then Z Global, our scheduling coordinator, working on developing strategies to maximize the value of the resource. Next slide, please. I have Big Bow solar plus storage as well, with you see solar panels, which are up and running. Battery system is still in progress. Next slide, please. All right, we have on the left the Ormat Casa Diablo geothermal project, 7 megawatts, COD, commercial operation date expected June 15th. And then Mountain View Wind is a repowered 33.5 megawatt wind farm, which is expected in July. Contract has a COD of January, but we're working to move that up 6 months to July of this year. Next slide, please. All right, and then we have Rabbit Brush solar plus storage, another hybrid resource of expected COD in the third quarter of this year in September. And next slide, please. And last here is the Yellow Pine solar plus storage, just started construction and expected in December of this year. And so, yeah, the pipeline is full at the moment. Various projects in various stages, some fully operational and some just starting to get off the ground. So very exciting times. And that is it. I can take any questions.
Thank you, Zach. I want to know about snow on panels, but aside from that, does anyone else have any questions of the staff's presentation? This is an update. I see none. I'll move to the public comment portion. And I see no hands raised from that. And we will move it back to the board for any last bit of conversation or questions. And if there are none, then this is a presentation and no action by the board is required at this time. Thank you. We'd love to see progress, but what about the snow?
Yeah, so we actually heard from the developer that there's very occasional possibilities of snowfall, and that it usually is in a couple hours will melt off when the panels start getting warm from the sun. So yeah, not something you see every day.
Okay. There's snow in someplace recently that was unusual too. All right. With that, we will move to a conversation point where the board members have an opportunity to make announcements and provide any questions or directions on future agenda items. And I know Director Chua has something to share.
Thank you, Chair. Couple weeks ago, we launched the incentive. It's called the Incentive Corner. I initiated this, and the council approved it, and the staff implemented it. So basically, it's a one-stop shop for information on rebates that can help cover costs for the residents. There are two parts: the water conservation one, this one, and the next one is really what I wanted to show is the energy efficiency rebates. As you can see, this is, they can explore like heat pump water heater, and it tells you how much they can save from SVCE rebates from us, SVCE, and also they ran $1,000. So it's really cool because I'm getting a lot of emails and inquiries about rebates. So I finally said, I got tired of answering emails. So I said, there's gotta be a better way to do this. So this came up. And so I just direct them to the site and they can look it up themselves. And if you move down some more, Andrea, you can see it's basically on the presentation that you did. It's part of it is in here too. All the appliances, rebates, and at the bottom you can see the additional resources, and those are good information for the residents. It's really, the way I see it's really to jumpstart awareness and education for Milpitas residents to be aware that we are trying to increase electrification, reduce GHG emission, and also environmental sustainability. One good feature of this one that I think if we have some for the efficiency portion, Andrea, can you move up to the water? And this one right there, one more, and shop now. Water, Valley Water gives away a little bit down, please. There, shop now. If you click on that one, Valley Water gives away this. And then they can click on which ones they want. So if we have some tools that is related to our mission, then we can bring it up here too as well. So that's all I have. It's really brief.
Oh, that's just marvelous. Very impressive for you to take advantage of all the information available to help your residents. Well done. Any questions about the program?
I was hoping more cities will mimic it as well. So that's the goal.
I think there's a possibility of that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to bring up any announcement or direction about future agenda items? Any questions? I see none. All right, so now we're going to do something which will take a little bit of attention. We are going to go to a closed session, which is a conference with legal counsel on anticipated litigation. Prior to moving to that, we will ask the public to make comment on this item. And then the board is going to be asked to close out of this Zoom meeting and open the new Zoom, the second Zoom invitation you received to go to the closed session. We will have a discussion and then come back to this meeting to announce out any discussion decision from the closed session. So it's very important that all board members return to this meeting at the end of the closed session so that we have quorum. And with that, I again see no hands from the public raised. So I will now request that we adjourn this meeting for a closed session, and we'll be returning after the closed session to report out. Okay, thank you. Please leave your meeting. Thank you all very much for joining us as we resume our Silicon Valley Clean Energy Board. And do we have a report out from the closed session?
Thank you, Chair Gibbons. We met in closed session on anticipated litigation, and there's no reportable action from our closed session.
Thank you very much. And unless anyone has something that they would like to say at this point, we are prepared to adjourn the meeting to our next regularly scheduled meeting. Thank you all. Thanks staff and all consultants for a very great evening and presentation, informative and useful as always. Take care. Thanks.
Bye.